I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. This is the Beyond the Mouse podcast, the podcast for all things Disney for NPR Illinois Community Voices and for the Front Row Network. I'm your host, Craig, and we're joined today by a very special guest that I'll get to very soon. But first, I wanted to go to my co-host, Mr. Brett Rutherford.
Hello.
And Vanessa Ferguson. How are you guys today?
We're doing great, Craig. How are you?
Yes.
Doing wonderful because we get to interview and discuss and talk Halloween with one of my favorite podcasters. Disney podcasts, there's so many of them out there. There's so many fun Disney podcasts out there. But if you really want to listen to a great, high quality podcast about everything that we love, I strongly suggest that you listen to the Imagineer podcast. And Matthew Krul is joining us today from the Imagineer podcast. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Craig. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm glad you reached out to ask if I could be a guest. It's great to be here.
Yes. And so, I came to your podcast. Actually, it was around the time that things were starting to shut down from COVID. And you were doing something that I thought was just brilliant. What you were doing is, in addition to your normal episodes, you were also posting a lot of the ride audio that you had taken. And I think you had taken that personally, correct? The ride audio?
Yes, all of it personally.
Wonderful. And so you were able to get this great audio experience of listening to the different rides and attractions, the pre-shows that we love, even some of the crowd noises. And so in that time when Disney was first shut down and we were looking for things to keep us connected to the parks, this was fantastic. But I will also say they all still exist in your feed. So anyone that's listening to this, Matthew's going to mention how to go about talking and getting into his podcast feed. But I would strongly suggest that you check these out. Brett, did you have something?
No, I mean, yes. Yes, I listened to the Rise of the Resistance today with the ride through, and there was a big smile on my face because I am needing some Disney right now, and that was the next best thing. So thank you. So
but also you come to us with great episodes and great content, great interviews, particularly with Imagineers. But you can see that your love for Disney is just something that's important to you. And this is all, we were just talking beforehand, that podcasts can be a labor of love sometimes. And you certainly have a lot of love in this podcast. Can you tell us how you developed and decided to start Imagineer podcast?
Yes, I always need a creative outlet. And that was part of the inspiration. Was I found myself with a need for a creative outlet, but I had been toying with the idea for probably a decade since I started listening to other Disney podcasts out there. And for a long time, you mentioned before, there's so many Disney podcasts. And I always thought of myself as, how am I going to compete with all these big podcasters in the Disney space? And when a light bulb kind of switched that I don't need to do this to compete with Disney podcasters. I just need to do this to have fun. It's something that I wanted to do. So I said, you know what? I'll just go for it. I don't care if 2 people listen. If I make 2 friends out of this, that's going to be fantastic. And so I thought I could offer something a little unique in having not just the lifelong passion for Disney and have, like a lot of Disney fans, having grown up learning about the parks and really researching as much as I could and experiencing the parks as well, of course. I had the cast member experience too. So I thought if I could merge those two and create almost an unofficial Disney podcast as told by a former cast member, that it could be fun and special, and I haven't stopped since. So it's just been a lot of fun to do.
And you mentioned you're a former cast member. Can you tell us about your experience working for Walt Disney World?
I can. So I worked there in 2007. This was pre-Magic Bands with paper fast passes at Kilimanjaro Safaris at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I stayed seasonal with the company for a couple of years after I finished on the Disney College program. then moved into a campus representative role, trying to convince others to do the Disney College program back at my college campus. And that was a volunteer role. He still got, still worked at the company and got some perks associated with it, but it was all just volunteer work. And then returned to the company when I went to go get my master's degree. I did an internship with Disney Vacation Club on their marketing team. And I think that was my formal my formal conclusion with Disney, although I consider myself to be like an unofficial cast member. Disney doesn't pay me, but I feel like almost a mini spokesperson for Disney sometimes.
Right.
Now, Brett, I had a question for you with this. You were a cast member on the entertainment side.
Yes, so I don't talk about it a lot. So we keep the magic alive and all those secrets. But yeah, there is a special sort of camaraderie between cast members. I'm experiencing that right now because right now the cast members are going through a downsizing, and but we're still very close, and we're still very close on Facebook, and we're sending support to one another. So once a cast member, always a cast member. So
It's very
Absolutely. True. And here I was trying to pitch you two against each other, saying that there's some of these attractions that are so forward facing, like Kilimanjaro Safaris. It almost feels like an acting job. It almost feels like an entertainment job. Correct?
Oh, sure. Like that and Rise of the Resistance. I mean, when I was listening today, I'm like going, this is full on improv. It is so good. And it is so intense. See, my co-hosts haven't had the opportunity to go on Rise of the Resistance yet, but they will enjoy it. And Vanessa even will. Well, in the podcast, it mentioned the motion sickness. I'm really sort of diverging here a little bit. And Vanessa is our motion sickness representative here.
I'm not thrilled that you get sick, but I was a little thrilled that I had someone who understood, no spitting. Yeah.
I totally get it. And Rise of the Resistance is not a problem. There's a couple little spots, but that's it. If you get through those, and I have tips and techniques that I can talk to you about for those particular two moments. Good. But it's easy. It's very easy.
And I think you hadn't ridden the Who Framed Roger Rabbit ride? Is that correct?
That's right.
And Brett, we rode that one, right, Brett?
We did.
See, and I don't quite remember because I was nervous about the spinning as well, and so I think I just was holding my breath the whole time. But I made it through. I'm here. I survived. So it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
And that was after
that
Galaxy's Edge
mission.
Yeah. I'm sorry, no. Mission Break. What is it? No.
Where they dropped me.
Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. There, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Do not do that. I was in a fetal position.
It was fetal.
It was awful.
I knew. I let
really
my
did.
friends and family go on that. I said, "Have fun. I'm just going to explore."
That's smart.
I've come to the just realization that, especially as I get older, there are attractions I'm just not going to be able to do anymore. And if my term for defining it is I've survived the attraction, or I'm going to try to survive it, I just decided I'm no longer going to do it. So instead, I treat myself by having some solo time to just walk around the parks, explore the details, grab a snack while everybody else is on the ride, and just to get to take in the ambience. So I use it as an excuse to treat myself rather than feeling almost like I'm missing out, that I'm getting something that they're not while I'm waiting outside.
Yeah.
You've worked that out quite well.
I caved to peer pressure, so I'm next.
You didn't know what you were getting into, and I'm like, it's fine,
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, you are a liar, Brett. So I'm going to follow Matthew's wisdom.
I did not
from now
know
on.
what a wimp you were. Sorry. We're not going to be judgy on this episode. So let's continue, shall we?
Okay,
Sure.
Greg, help us.
You mentioned
We call it banter.
that we aren't competitive as far as other Disney podcasts, and it's really just about sharing your love for Disney. So that's what's great about this, is that our listeners right now could download a few of your episodes and check them out. So my question to you, you've had such brilliant and amazing guests, but also you do such great episodes that are diving into a particular attraction. Comes to mind the Haunted Mansion episode that you did and things like that. that. If you could suggest maybe a couple of episodes for our listeners to check out to kind of experience your show or things that you're proud of, maybe one that's an interview and one that's a non-interview, what would you suggest people check out?
The interview ones are really tough to pick one, but I will narrow it down to one. I'll start with the easy one. The attraction episode that most people that I get the most positive feedback about, I should say, is the Haunted Mansion. I feel like that one, like you mentioned, that one is probably the best one to start with, which is episode 54. And then for an interview, I'll say Bob Gurr was pretty special. So maybe I'll recommend that one. That was episode 67. It's always amazing to get to chat with an original Imagineer. There's not many left. And a fun behind the scenes story. I coordinated all of that with his manager. Mm-hmm. And I left my cell number. I said, just in case he has any trouble, he can call my cell. About an hour before our scheduled time, I got a phone call from a Los Angeles number, but I get so many spam calls during the day. I say, if it's important, it'll go to voicemail. Sure enough, I get a voicemail, and it's, hey, Matt, this is Bob Gurr. I just wanted to make sure I had the right link for an hour from now. I know we're scheduled. And so then I got to chat with him over the phone because, of course, I called him back for like 10 minutes. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go eat lunch, and then we'll come back, and I'll hop into the meeting. So
it's so funny when things like that happen. So and I agree with you. It's so hard. It's like picking children, right? The interviews that you get, you're so appreciative of their time, and you really love that. And you've had some amazing interviews. I highly suggest you check out more than one. But we had a similar situation with Floyd Norman. He was running a little bit behind, and so we had the Zoom window going. We're ready to record, and we just decided, maybe this we need to reschedule. So we went ahead and sent that to his contact. And then all of a sudden, about an hour later, I get a phone call, and on the other end, he just goes, "Hi, this is Floyd Norman. I'm really sorry that I was running a bit behind, and I wanted to see if you could still chat tonight." And so immediately, I think Brett had turned off. I think Brett had become dead to the world. No. So I'm trying to send like carrier pigeon, whatever way I can get Brett to respond to me that's saying, "Hey, we need to talk to him now." Yeah. So it's so fun to have those experiences and those memories, and that's just great. Any questions that anybody else had for Matthew prior to us jumping into our topic for this evening?
I just have one. Your podcasts have such great production values, so it's something that you just must really enjoy. And we don't want to, well, maybe some of us really want to geek out and really enjoy all of that. So maybe we'll talk later. But how is that part of your creative process too? Is the actual production and choosing music and everything? It's just so excellent. I'm making my way through your podcast, so I have quite a journey ahead. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Thank you. It's part of the creative process. I usually think ahead of time of what I want for music. And I created a formula very much in the beginning that I have not moved away from because, again, people have said that they like the way that it's produced. So I said, okay, I'll just leave it the way it is, try to increase the quality, or improve the quality. But I'm always thinking about the right music to pick. And it's very much a process of me putting myself into the ambience of that particular episode and thinking about what the right tone is. So yeah, it's a fun little process to put every episode together.
Cool. Yeah, that's good.
And I have a question as well. So I read online that you like running. And I think I read that you did some Run Disney events. Hopefully I read that correctly. Now, Craig is dying to do some Run Disney events, but we do not support him because Brett and I do not run. So,
well, we support him emotionally.
No, I do not. No. I'm not doing that. But could you maybe tell Craig what it's like to do some Run Disney events and what that's like?
Yes. So I'll say this. I like to run. I am not a marathon runner. So when I talk to actual marathon runners, it's totally like expert level versus I'm amateur, like moderate at best when it comes to running. I'm a leisure runner more than a competitive runner. I think that's the best way to put it. So I've only done one event, which is the Princess Half Marathon Weekend. The 5K in particular, I think everybody should do once. And whether it's the Princess Marathon Weekend, Half Marathon Weekend, the Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend, probably Wine and Dine. I haven't done that one, but I feel like that would be the best one to do. The 5K is the most family-friendly, easygoing run event that you will ever do. And I'm really good at doing 5Ks. Like, this was my favorite 5K. Just the hardest part is waking up. Once you're up and, you get a cup of coffee at 4 a.m., or whatever you need to wake yourself up, they do such a great job of energizing you in the morning. I mean, you arrive at Epcot's parking lot at 4:30 in the morning. They've got a DJ playing music. All these Disney fans are gathered together in costume, ready to go. You're just like one big family ready to go. Every single corral gets fireworks. So even if you're an hour into it,
oh my gosh,
even if you're an hour into it, fireworks set off when you start your run.
Wow.
Like, everybody gets that. And the part that to me made me feel like anybody can do this is they have a pre-show that starts about 30 minutes before, or an hour before the event starts, when you're in the corrals. It's just for all the runners and those watching from the the race family and friends that are not running. And they interview people in the audience. It's so much fun. It's done like a real, like, live sports broadcast. But in a much more like Disney friendly, fun kind of way. Really well done. They interview kids. They interviewed, like, for the 5K, they were interviewing kids. They were interviewing these adults who were like 70, 75 years old who were doing the 5K. And one person that they interviewed had knee surgery 2 weeks before, was still doing it.
Wow.
And you can literally, and we decided to do this because we felt more like an experience, again, not a competitive runner or a leisure runner. We walked the whole thing because there's no time limit for the 5K. You could literally take all day if you wanted to. And they have exclusive music. They have all the show lighting on because it's still dark outside when you're walking around. They have exclusive characters out that you won't get to meet, like Elvis Stitch, like all this crazy stuff. So much fun. So absolutely worth doing the 5K once, and I think you'll be hooked on it.
Well, there you go. We can do that. And
Yeah, we can
these
do
things,
that.
they pick on me a bit because I have been running quite a bit since, especially since the pandemic started, really. I've lost about 50 pounds in the last 6 months.
Wow.
And
Congrats.
it's been like, it seems like every time we message each other, I'm like, oh, I'm out for a run. So
I'm out for a run.
Like, I'm Craig. I'm out healthy. No, but it's good. We're happy for you.
good.
We just
We're
like to
happy.
razz you a little bit.
Yeah, that is perfect. Now, Matthew, there's a lot of ways to listen to the show. And of course, people can find it in their podcast app of choice by just searching for Imagine Your Podcast. You also have a really cool Patreon. And I know this is the last bit of question before we jump into our topic. But can you talk about sort of other ways you can get involved in the show? I know you're doing some watch parties, which is really cool.
Patreon, I'm trying my best to give the best value I possibly can. Like, I think that literally anybody who gives any financial contribution to the show, a share is the most important thing, or just like talking about it or listening to the show. Those are the most important things. But someone who's literally willing to reach into their pocket to help pay for the show deserves some extra magic. So literally just $1 a month is all you need for membership in. Of course, those who pay more, contribute more, get more benefits, but the $1 a month tier already gets you access to like the exclusive community. And that I'm always doing at least once a month, some virtual event for Patreon members. And because it's Halloween and because we're all stuck at home, I realized that I was thinking like creatively about what we could do different. There's no in-person events right now. So I started this idea of I polled my listeners, and 100% of people who responded said they have Disney Plus. Surprise, surprise. So I said, well, let's do Disney Plus watch parties. And while Disney Plus just did formally introduce the idea of a watch party, it's limited to 7, so I still have to do it this roundabout way, which is we all, within our exclusive Facebook group, hit play at the exact same moment on our devices. We live chat in the post as we watch whatever movie. We watched the Howard documentary on Disney Plus. Last month we did watch Mulan. And this month we're watching Hocus Pocus, Nightmare Before Christmas, Haunted Mansion, Halloween Town, and Coco. Plus, for those who contribute more, my higher contributors, my higher rolling contributors, we're having a virtual costume party. And then there's a whole bunch of other perks I put in there. Members get early access to podcast episodes, access to podcast production notes that I put together for every episode, bonus episodes I do just for them. Like I try to make it a really fun, highly valuable community for them. And I'm always looking to add more. So that's the most unique, different way you can engage with the Imagineer podcast outside just listening to the show and following on social media.
That's
awesome.
Wonderful. Yeah, you do such a great job. And even if you just want to check out more, you also have a group on social media, The Imagination, as well. So check that out and join that and listen to Matthew's podcast, because if you can't tell by now, he's so great at what he does. And we love that he's here because now we're going to talk about Halloween at Disney. And so I wanted to come to this episode and I wanted to think about, I start to kind of get that feeling. It's right about the time that Disney starts putting up those decorations that Halloween really begins for me. So normally that's like August 1st, right? This year was a little bit more delayed. They started around September 15th, but it puts me into the fall spirit and into the Halloween spirit. I would argue, and I don't know your opinions on this, all of you, but I would say that there is no better time of year to be a Disney fan than to be a Disney fan at Halloween. There is so much going on in the fall, and I love going to the parks at that time of year. I enjoy just being enveloped in what is Halloween at Disney or Disney during Halloween. And so that's why I decided we are going to do a roundtable. We're going to talk about some ways that we get into the Halloween spirit through Disney. And we'll take some turns and talk about the different ideas that we all have. And this can be as abstract as you would like it to be. So it could be things like movies or music or the parks or whatever it is that puts you in the Halloween spirit and is associated with Disney. So we will let Matthew go first and lead us off in our opening round. So Matthew, what is your thought? What puts you in the Halloween spirit?
I love these lists, and I generally start as a slow roll into these, but I think I'm actually going to start with one of my best ones to start, just because my list was shorter than normal. So I don't want anybody stealing my good ones. But I will make it specific. I'll make it specific so there's a little bit of wiggle room. For me, it is being around the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at Disney's Hollywood Studios. I talked about this before. I get motion sickness pretty easily on attractions, so Tower of Terror is one of them. So I will typically not ride Tower of Terror. I will with my family because I do love the Imagineering behind it and the environment and the ambience of it. I will wait in line with them. And then when it comes time to board the elevator, we'll just say, I'm not riding. And they send me to a real elevator to go, which is a really weird experience. If you've ever chickened out on Tower of Terror, they literally take you into the middle of the 4 elevators. There's one elevator that just goes from the 2nd floor down to the 1st floor. And it's for cast members or, wheelchair, we bring wheelchairs back down to the exit, whatever it might be. And when the doors open, it's so dark in that boiler room, but it's a real, almost like hospital elevator. So there's these bright lights and you have all these people staring at you in one bellhop with the doors closing. It's the strangest thing. Anyway, so I love just the environment of walking through Tower of Terror, listening to that music. I did do an episode on Tower of Terror because of how amazing it is. Or even just sitting outside and watching guests as the doors open and hearing them scream and just have an amazing time. That to me always puts me in the Halloween spirit. And because it does take place Halloween night of 1939, if you pay close attention to the exit, most people come out the exit, but if you go into the exit, into the gift shop, all of the wall displays or glass displays are Halloween themed because it is a Halloween based attraction. So
Wow.
to me, that is like one of the best ways to get into the spirit, even if it's not Halloween, is to go to a Tower of Terror.
You know, I think my wife, more than anyone, will appreciate this because she does not ride the attraction when she gets up there. But one time when we went through the line, because she loves the theming, I mean, it's just so cool. And even to see all of the bits and pieces of like the book for To Serve Man, and to see Burgess Meredith's glasses and just all of these little Easter eggs throughout the entire attraction queue. It's so brilliant. But she never rides the ride. And so she always goes down that elevator. And the cast member one time just turned to her and very seriously said, if anyone asks you if you rode the Tower of Terror, tell them you rode the elevator at the Tower of Terror. And that's all you have to say. And then they will just assume that is exactly what it means. So any thoughts on the Tower of Terror from Brett or Vanessa?
I just think it's so cool that you know those details. And that's one thing I loved about listening to your podcast was you kept mentioning all these things that I've never noticed before. And I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I never saw, like, so now when I go back, that's one thing I'm looking forward to doing is like trying to find those things because it's just so neat.
Now, I wasn't going to go second. However, I think I'm going to pull my host card here and go second because it does, it really goes nicely with what Matthew just said. And that's actually my favorite. Everybody, and I know it's going to come up later, so I'm not taking it now, but the big one, Hocus Pocus. I imagine sometime that will come up in this conversation. But that's not necessarily the first movie I turn on every Halloween season. I turn on Tower of Terror because to me, it is such a great film. I loved growing up on Are You Afraid of the Dark and growing up on Goosebumps and all of those. And this is just such a great, it was a made-for-TV movie for Wonderful World of Disney and stars Steve Guttenberg and Kirsten Dunst. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but it's not on Disney Plus. So I don't know. It could be a licensing issue, I guess, but it was made for ABC and for Wonderful World of Disney. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but it is such a fun movie. And actually, I guess we have a bit of an announcement that later on this month, we will be interviewing the writer-director of Tower of Terror, DJ McHale, who also created Are You Afraid of the Dark as well. So we're excited to get to jump into that. But I just had to that will be my first pick. I won't steal another pick. But that movie, I love it because they didn't have actually the license to use Twilight Zone in the film. So it's not a Twilight Zone feature film, but what it does is it still blends the story that Matthew was saying about the Halloween night in 1939 in kind of a really fun way. And it's not scary because it is made really for children and kind of in that vein of Are You Afraid of the Dark? There's a little bit of jump scares here and there, but nothing too serious. And so it's fun because that's the kind of Halloween film that I love. I'm not super into the horror movies and all of that, but Tower of Terror really it's perfect in my mind. So love that film.
I'm the same way, Craig. I don't like horror, like the traditional scary movies. I like the spooky, slight horror themed films. And Tower of Terror is one of my favorites.
We need to start a petition between your podcast and ours. Yeah. We need to get it on Disney Plus by next Halloween. And so I know that these two actually haven't had the pleasure of seeing it yet. They just received the DVD in the mail. So you'll have to listen in on our interview later on this month and you'll find out what Brett and Vanessa think of the film. But we'll let Vanessa go next.
Yes. You know how I love to get mine in before anyone else can steal them. So mine's for this time of year. So I work in a theater, and in the box office, the staff knows that this time of year is when we will listen to the Boo to You parade music on repeat. They don't like it because they've heard it so many times. I mean, they like the song, but once is enough for them. But they're not going to hear it just once this time of year. They're going to hear it many, many times. I ask them, what's wrong? I'm like, come on, guys. It's really not so scary. It's really not so scary. It's really not so scary. And they just get sick of it. But it's such a great song, and there's like little fun characters, and the villains come at the end. And to me, that is my go-to. I'm like, it's Halloween, press play. This is the music we're listening to soundtrack this time of year. So that's my pick.
That's a great
Do you have
pick.
a particular float that you enjoy?
The
or is
chicken.
it the whole?
I love
The
the chicken, and what is I can't even think of what she
Or
does,
cluck.
but yeah, she's like clucking the music, and whenever I take my mom to the Halloween party, I look at her and I'm like, it's the chicken. It's the chicken. She's like, Vanessa, there's something wrong with you, and I'm like, that's the chicken. So yeah, I love that flow. It's one of my, but really all of them are so great. But the music is what, as soon as you hear that, boo, to you, like I'm just like, oh, here it's coming, it's coming, here they come, Mickey's coming. So I just love that song. It's so great, and I highly recommend to anyone who wants to get a little Mickey spooky music on.
I just
Definitely one of my
knew that
favorites.
you were going to. I just knew you were going to say the chicken. Most people I think would say the Gravediggers, the.
I like them
Guest
too,
of the Haunted
but the
Mansion.
chicken.
But I just knew for a fact that you were going to say the chicken for sure.
I think when she goes, she's like, "Bok, bok, bok." Oh my God, I love her so much.
Do a
She's so
great Clara Cluck, Vanessa.
Thank you so much.
Any thoughts, Matthew, about the Boo to You parade?
I love the Boo to You parade. It is definitely, that song is definitely an earworm. It'll be, I think, stuck in your head for a decade after you listen to it once. But the Graveyard Diggers are definitely my favorite part of that show.
It's just so cool that how the sparks fly up. But Brett, did you have something?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this is a story. So as a former cast member, I was at Walt Disney World on a vacation as a non-cast member, but as a guest. And I had dinner with a friend of mine who was a staging assistant and actually was there the moment they discovered that the shovels created sparks. Can you imagine?
It's so cool
That'd be
because that's
awesome.
such a.
Anyway,
such
I'll
a
just say
neat
Mary.
part.
It's Meryi. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, can you imagine? I'm like going, so she was there. It was in a rehearsal, and they all did that. And I'm sure that probably that there were Disney fire marshal people there, checking to see, well, if this is on Main Street, is it going to? Is there going to be?
Yeah.
How many sparks are there going to be?
Put that out. Yeah,
Well,
exactly. But it
yeah,
is really iconic.
That was a cool thing. So shout out to Mary. So sorry I missed your
Brett,
last name.
you get to also close us out in our first round
Wow.
here.
Okay. First round. Well, Nightmare Before Christmas, naps. Okay. So yes, Nightmare Before Christmas naps. Now, I know, what is that? I don't get it. Because, okay, so the movie came out in 1993. I don't know why I didn't see it in the theaters. I mean, the artistry is amazing. It's a Tim Burton film. The cast is amazing. It's stop motion animation at its finest. But whenever I watch it, I don't know. I think I even bought it, so I could watch it. And I inevitably fall asleep. And I don't know why. Because that's not usually, and I'm a big fan of the Haunted Mansion Holiday at Disneyland. And so I'm like going, this time I'm going to make it through. So everything I see in Haunted Mansion Holiday makes sense. I enjoyed Haunted Mansion Holiday and then went back to watch Nightmare Before Christmas and still slept. But anyway, it does put me into the holiday mood. And it also keeps me well rested.
My son watched it the other day, and it's only an hour and 11 minutes long, Brett.
Really?
So it's not like it's a very long nap.
Okay, I'll do it on a
Maybe.
well caffeinated day.
Maybe
There you
his
go.
brain like turns off once it gets to the Christmas scenes. And he's like, nope. His brain's like, nope, not Halloween. It's
That's
Christmas.
I
And he
think
just
that's
shuts off.
it.
So that's
You know,
probably
I
what my
think
brain
that's when
does.
I get to the trees and I see all the different holidays, and then I wake up and it's over. So I don't get
Do
it.
you
I
have
don't
a-
get it.
Do you have a particular side on the Halloween movie versus Christmas movie debate on that, Matthew? Do you come down on either side hard on that on Nightmare Before Christmas?
No, I think it's both. Like you start it at Halloween, you finish it at Christmas. You can watch it that whole period of time. It just extends the season. So no, I think it's very much a blend. It is a Halloween and a Christmas movie.
Have you
Completely
seen
agree.
the Haunted Mansion Holiday at Disneyland?
Yeah, I love Haunted Mansion Holiday. That was actually one of the things I had on my list that I'm not going to cross out.
You can still no. That was kind of the rules because they're, you know, I mean, everyone's going to say not so scary Halloween party, but what specifically about that? So you can leave that. We can leave that to you to go to if you'd like to.
I might come back to it. I kind of want to see where my mind goes because I always if I have to narrow it down to 4, I'll come up with 10 just to make sure I have all my options. But I actually want to jump off of Vanessa's. Not so much the Boo to You parade. I think it's technically part of the Boo to You parade, but I'm going to pretend it's not. The Headless Horseman that appears before the Boo to You parade. I first
Just crossing it off.
That to me is that, like, when you actually think about the formal parade when the music starts, the graveyard, you know, the gravediggers are my favorite part. But if you include the Headless Horseman before, that is my favorite part. And I'll never forget, it's the first time I saw or participated in or was, you know, attended the Halloween party was as a cast member, because as a kid in the Northeast, I couldn't exactly, like, my parents didn't take me out of school to go down to Disney for a weekend. So I never saw it until I worked there during the fall. And then I went to the cast preview and they put us all on Main Street for the, you know, cast rehearsal with guests of the Halloween of the Mickey's Boo to You parade. And I didn't know about the Headless Horseman. And then the Headless Horseman comes down. I'm like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And to know that, of course, the Headless Horseman doesn't have a head, so he can't obviously see where he's going. He doesn't have eyes. To know that the horse is the one that knows exactly where to go makes it even more impressive. But the music that they have in the background is so chilling when you combine it with the lighting that they have. Watching it on Main Street's the best, but even Frontierland's fun. Yeah, like that. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it now. It is one of the cool Halloween experiences at Disney.
I totally agree. It is awesome, and it sets the tone that it is spooky.
Yes.
You know, that there's lighthearted bits about the party, but that part in itself can be quite spooky. So I 100% agree with that one.
It's so cool because of the ambiance that comes around with that as well. And so that's actually was on my list. One of them was the decorations, particularly on Main Street, because Main Street has some of the coolest, the pumpkin wreaths and the Mickey pumpkins and the everything that is just adorned up and down Main Street, all of the Halloween and the fall colors, and by the flag post, it just puts you in such a wonderful place to celebrate Halloween. And I think that that's cool because a lot of the things that we've talked about are exclusive to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, but these decorations are up all the time. And so even the daytime guests get to experience those. And of course, this year they've kind of, everything's changed this year, right? But they're sort of taking bits and pieces of Boo to You Parade and the cavalcades that are coming in, and some of the daytime guests get those elements even though they're not paying paying for the party. I almost kind of hope that that is something that sticks around, that maybe they could keep, and maybe they're not going to be able to, but these cavalcades are so neat, and you get to see them. And so I guess I'm sort of cheating here and sort of picking two things, because the videos that I've seen of the cavalcades for Halloween this year, to me, amplify even more the decorations that you see on Main Street, and those this gives you into the Halloween spirit, particularly Jack and Sally, and you get to see Oogie Boogie and Zero there. And then I think all of the Winnie the Pooh characters are on the trolley, which is fun to incorporate a ride vehicle for Main Street. And then also our Winnie the Pooh characters wearing Halloween costumes. So much of that is just neat. It puts you in this perfect space of ambiance. I love Main Street.
And how many pictures of the Mickey wreath do you have? Because every time I go, I'm like, oh, I gotta get a picture. I mean, I have, they don't change. I have the same picture like 10 times from different years, but it's just so iconic that you're just like, oh, I love it. I love it. And yeah, I'm with you. The decorations really get me excited.
Yeah. Brett, did
Definitely
you have anything on the decorations or on the Headless Horseman?
I love them both.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Vanessa, I think you're up.
Okay, so this is kind of a cool story. So another part of the Halloween party that I really like, and I don't know if they're going to continue doing it, but the Hallowishes, because I think they did away with it, the soundtrack. And there's a part where Oogie Boogie comes on, and he says, like, well, what have we here? A trick-or-treater, huh? Ooh, I'm really scared. Okay, so the guy who does that voice is Ken Page. And at the theater where I worked, we invited him to come and do a performance for us for our gala. And when I met him, I decided I was going to get an Oogie Boogie doll, which I have. And I had him sign it, which is very cool.
Whoa.
But the fun thing, too, was I also did him to him, where I was going, Mr. Ken Page, in the Hallowishes, you say this. Oh, a trick-or-treater, huh? I'm really scared. And he just looked at me like, who is this kid doing an impression of me to me? And it's one of my favorite memories. And every time I go to well, maybe not anymore, but when I would go to the Halloween party, I would hear that part, I would sing along with it, and then I would turn to like my mom and be like, you know, I met him. He signed my Oogie, but you know I met him, right? So that's one of my favorite Halloween moments that I look forward to every year.
That's so much fun.
Memory.
Matthew, did you have something there?
I was going to say, this year I had seen Hallowishes. This year they did do a new show, Disney's Not So Spooky Spectacular. Phenomenal. It was the same thing from going from Wishes to Happily Ever After and the change in technology. And the fact that they bring Jack Skellington into Magic Kingdom, I know how it works, and it's very easy to if you really pay attention, know how it works. But it truly looks like Jack Skellington is standing in front of Cinderella Castle talking to all the guests. It is so well done. Yeah.
How cool.
Very cool.
That is extremely cool. So, Brett, any thoughts on that, or do you want to move on to your pick?
I love it all. No, okay. I'm sorry.
I like that that's your refrain. Of this,
you might kind of hear that. You know, it's this version of wow. So, okay. Well, my next is, again, part of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, but it's specifically the Hocus Pocus Villain Spelltacular. And there's a special, specifically, there was a Winifred who opened the show, who I have found on Facebook. Okay, this is a little bit of, magic,
breaking,
a little bit behind
ruining.
the scenes. Okay, yeah. Anyway,
friends
but she's
with
great.
Winifred.
She's friends with Winifred. Is Jenica McCleary, a divine imposter as Winifred, and she I think opened it in 2015, and you can watch her YouTube versions from 2015 to like 2017. You can watch it on YouTube. I don't know why they didn't bring her back. I don't know, maybe Well, anyway, so one of the years that I went, the first time I went to Mickey's Not So Scary, went to see it, and it was not the one it was, the Winifred was wonderful, but is not as Winnie as I remembered. And so I'm like going, I just have to. So I bought another ticket and went another night, and in fact got to see my very favorite Winifred. So she's amazing. So anyway, so it's very specifically, it is the 2015 cast. So, which
like I said, that's not on my list.
Yeah, so specifically, it's Jenica
That is
McCleary.
that is very specific, and it is interesting. Now they have like kind of this annual pass basically for Mickey's Not So Scary. Or at least they did last year. We'll see if they continue that when they bring back the parties, hopefully in 2021. But yeah, so it's dedication there, Brett, that you wanted to make sure that you came back and saw that. So I like that. I love that show because it does incorporate so many of the other villains. Dr. Facilier has a great role in it, and I just really enjoy that. It was cool to be able to be there and see that in person. I think that we were there the first year. I think it was 2015, right? The first year that they had it. And to get that excitement of being right there in front of the castle in the hub area. And we were front row for, I think, probably maybe the first show of the night, or if not the second show of the night. And just so electric around you to have them do what they did and to see the show. It was wonderful. There's a lot of times where I'll check out the POV beforehand, and that sometimes kind of takes a little bit away. I mean, I'm sure when I get to finally experience Rise of the Resistance, I will be like bawling and be very, very overwhelmed.
Videos won't do anything.
Right.
Yeah, you can watch all the videos you want. It won't change how you feel when you ride it.
That's good to know. That's good to know. But maybe a show, those shows, because it is more of a theatrical piece as opposed to an experience. I wanted to make sure I didn't see this first. And so it was such a good decision because it was really fun to see where the show went and how they went about doing that. So loved the Hocus Pocus Villain Spectacular. Vanessa, any thoughts there?
Oh, I love it too. It just made me I think it was like for us 90s kids, when they said they announced they were going to do that, we're like, yes, here, take more of my money. Because, we love Hocus Pocus. And I agree with Brett. Actually, when Brett pointed out that the original Winifred was #1, I went back and listened. I'm like, yeah, Brett's right. She is really good. So, like Brett says, I love it all.
Well, Matthew, I think we're going to go to you for your next pick.
This is getting tough now. I am going to, because we've been spending a lot of time at the Halloween party, jump to the other coast. I could say Haunted Mansion Holiday, but I'm actually going to throw I'm going to throw a curveball, which I like to do on my own podcast too, and jump to the other side of the park. I'm going to say this was also retired, but Space Mountain Ghost Galaxy was a great way to get into the Halloween spirit. It was one of the scarier experiences to do. It was not quite as scary when I did it as I thought it was going to be, but still pretty terrifying. So Space Mountain at Disneyland, first of all, is just my favorite version of Space Mountain. And they have, for those who haven't done it, and you can watch a video and see, you go up first, Disney World, you go down first. Disneyland, you continue to climb and climb and climb, and then you go down. But their strobe tunnel, their blue light strobe tunnel, which everybody thinks about like whooshing through on Walt Disney World, is actually a little slower. And at Ghost Galaxy, they actually completely turn the lights off, like they do with Walt Disney World's version, for the tunnels. So you literally can't see a thing. And then they have the ability, because of the space that they have around the track, to put screens with projections, and because it's really dark, they blend in well with the background, and they make it look like there is a phantom with a galaxy for an eye chasing you around Space Mountain. And there's a little pop surprise at the end too, which usually gets people to scream. And they have a unique score soundtrack just for that attraction. The other thing I love about Disneyland is the fact that they have an onboard soundtrack, whereas Disney World is just background music as you're riding through the attraction. So yeah, Ghost Galaxy is it's so time sensitive. You have to be there during Halloween, but it's and I don't think they're doing it anymore, but it was a lot of fun. I only got to do it once, but it was great.
That's wonderful. And, you know, what's your opinion on, have you done the complete blackout Space Mountain that they've done? Okay.
I haven't. I had a theory. I could do Space Mountain. My theory was, just knowing as I've learned as I've gotten older, my motion sickness tolerance, my theory was if I cannot see anything, it'll make things a lot worse. And my friends went and did, and my wife went and did Ghost Galaxy together. That's not Ghost Galaxy, Deep Space Mountain together. And I said, you know what? I'm going to ride the TTA and test this theory. Because the TTA through Space Mountain. TTA moves at that point 1 mile an hour. I got motion sick on the TTA because I couldn't see where I was going.
Wow.
So I'm like, imagine me in a rocket on Space Mountain.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have survived, like beyond. I would have been going up the lift hill and saying to myself, "This was a big mistake."
Oh no,
Brett, can I
Well,
make
I'm
it to the
impressed
end?
You didn't make that mistake.
Well, I'm so impressed that Disneyland Space Mountain is something that you can handle, because I can't handle that.
I have a trick for
Because you
that
go
one.
around.
What's
your
the
trick?
What's the trick?
What's
Front
the
row, left seat. That's really weird. It's a really weird trick, but
Okay.
it's because also I know the track by heart, which helps.
Yeah.
But the front row you can see. It is hard to like. They blend the track in really well there compared to Disney World. So the
And you
stars
sit
are-
side by side, which
You
is a
sit
little
side by
different.
side, right? But the coaster is mostly right turns. I think I've counted. There's 6 left turns on the entire coaster, but it's all rights. So if you sit on the left, part of the problem with sitting on the right is you're on the inside, and as it makes tight turns, you're pushed into your seat more.
Oh,
If you sit
right,
on the
okay.
left, you're actually pushed a little bit to the side, which for me, the less positive G's, more lateral G's, actually helps with my motion sickness.
Yeah.
Really
That's
weird.
good to
subtle
know.
trick. I
Thank
don't-
you.
it's not-
Very
it's not-
good to know.
It's not guaranteed to work. It's just guaranteed to.
I'll try it.
Yeah.
I'll try it. And the only thing that's kind of gotten me through that, and then it was California Screaming, was knowing the soundtrack, so knowing when it was ending.
Yes.
I'm like going, I can make it. I can make it. I can make it. I can make it. Yeah. So.
And the thing I like about Disneyland's is they have fans that blow wind in your face, and wind does
That's
help
good.
with
Air
motion sickness
helps.
too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the thing about being in the dark, because I totally forgot that is a thing. My friends once blindfolded me and took me somewhere. I know it sounds scary, but it's not scary. But I got so sick, and it was
Yeah.
just cars make me sick, but I was really, really sick. And you're right, it's because I couldn't see anything. So that's a good pro tip for
You
those of
always
us
need
who
It's a takeaway.
You always need some point of reference. That always helps.
Right.
Like a stationary point is what helps alleviate motion sickness.
Yes.
So
That's
Pro
perfect.
tip.
This
And
we
so
are
you-
learning while we do
Thank
this.
you.
Then.
This is good. I'm
So-
writing this down.
I know that I'm going to cheat here. Basically, I'm telling you, I'm
Really?
trying to come up with a way to tell you I'm going to cheat. I want to also make sure we cover some of the things that are outside of the parks that people can experience at home while they're here. And so I'm going to say, in general, some Disney music. And I have 2 that I want to mention. The first is, if you can find this, and I think that you can find it online, but actually my son, we gave him a record player for Christmas last year, or birthday last year. And we bought him a lot of the old Disney records. And one of them is the chilling, thrilling sounds of a haunted house. And it's a really, really fun record. They have one side that's all just a bunch of different sound effects of like screeching cats and just wind through trees. But then on the front side of it, it actually has these little stories and vignettes that go along with them. There's one where you're going to Mars, and when you land, I think that the Martians eat you. They make like a potato chip sound, and I think it's them eating you. Anyway, but it's great. It's wonderful. It's
great.
kind of hokey. It's made in like I think it's copyrighted in the 1950s. It's just perfect, and it's kind of fun to relive some of that nostalgia, because that's what I love so much about Disney too, is the nostalgic pieces of it. What I will also say is my second one, my cheat one, is Sorcerer Radio. So there's a lot of different parks type music out there. The one that I happen to listen to is Sorcerer Radio. I'm sure you can find, I think D Park Live is another one. There's several out there. And of course you can find park music on Spotify as well. What I like about Sorcerer Radio is that they actually have now divided into a bunch of different channels. And one of their channels is Disney Seasons. And so we're recording this on October 1st, behind the podcast. But starting today and going all the way through Halloween, the Seasons channel is all Disney Halloween music all the time. So you get to hear the ride-throughs of Haunted Mansion and Grim Grinning Ghost. You get to hear Boo to You Parade. You get to hear some of the entrance music for just being on Main Street. It's kind of just fun to, while you're working at home, doing whatever you are doing right now, to just turn that on and just sort of experience the magic that way. So that is my tip, and also my pick for this one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
That's a really good one.
I thought you were going to say Goofy's Monster Mash.
I love that too.
Yeah, and I don't know if you ever pay attention, but toward the end, he goes like, "Boo, gosh, scared myself." Like, that makes me laugh. Every year I forget that, and then I laugh hysterically. So I'm like, oh, Goof, you're so funny.
Awesome. Vanessa, what's your next one?
Well, this is, I say I brought props for mine, but every year I spend so much money because I love the Halloween merch. So here's an example. I can't get enough of these. Anything that is shaped like I lost my votive. Anything that's shaped like a pumpkin that also Mickey, I'm there for. And I still kick myself for things I didn't buy. Like there was this candy corn backpack one year, and then the ears match, and I always think, like when I go to the parks, there's so much to do on a Halloween party night that I'm like, I don't want to spend too much time with merch. I'll buy it online, but not everything is online. And then usually by the time it does come online, it sells out really quickly. So if you get the chance that you see something you want for Halloween, I definitely would suggest just snatching it up, maybe send it back to your hotel room, because there's just a lot of really cool stuff. I mean, I'm there. Like when Shop Disney's like, we're sending out our merch, I'm like, ready. Show me what you got this year, because I'm sending you my credit card number. I love it. So that's one of my faves. Yeah.
One of each.
That was Anna's first. That was her number one with a bullet, was the merchandise for Halloween, because we're the same way. You get. We have a big candy dish that came out this year. That's a big Mickey pumpkin, and it says "Trick or Treat" on the other side, and just some really cool stuff. And they do some of the nostalgic Halloween stuff too. And their design team. Oh gosh, the Disney design team is just so incredible, because they give you a little bit of everything. Like some of the merchandise is more like kind of that, what I would classify like hokey Halloween, but then there's some nostalgic stuff, and it's just beautiful. It's all well done, and I love it. So yeah, Shop Disney is definitely a great place.
Hocus Pocus stuff is always hard to get. That sells out really quickly. And every year I have this debate with myself of, I need an orange plastic Mickey Mouse trick-or-treating bucket. And then I'm like, no, you don't. You're in your 30s. You don't go trick-or-treating. You don't need this. Yes, I do. I might go trick-or-treating at the party, but they're going to give you a bag, so you don't need it. I'm like, but I do need it. It won't fit in your suitcase. And so I do that. I go back and forth every year. I never have gotten it, but
my son has it. So maybe one year you can just like steal it from him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'll be that weird, middle-aged lady that's like, child, can I have your Halloween bucket?
Not weird at all.
Brett, finish us out on this round.
Okay. Speaking of, the buckets or whatever, trick-or-treating at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and specifically, the treats that I received, and, you can, yes, you're paying extra money to go to a park and all this, but you can kind of get a great haul of the Halloween candies if you choose to do that. And So, but the trick-or-treating candies that I got from Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party got me through Hurricane Matthew in 2016. Because I was at Walt Disney World during the hurricane, as I just mentioned. And this was another thing, I think we have to do an episode on it because anyway, but, I saw that it was coming, and I'm a planner, but I did not know. I knew it was hurricane season because I lived there and, all that sort of stuff. But during that specific vacation, I did not check the hurricane schedule, because they do have those. But anyway, so I might have changed my mind. But, actually, I felt like I was at this, not just the happiest place. Well, it's not the happiest place on earth. Anyway, that's Disneyland. I need to be very specific about that.
I'm the same way.
I know. I'm like, what is
most
it?
Magical
It's a cast member.
Magical. It is the most. Thank you. Very good. The most magical place. So I wasn't the most magical, but I also felt that I was at the safest. But yeah, so the candy I did get. I got the box lunch and some of the other things. I got to tell you the box lunch story some other time, but it's funny. Okay. And, but other things, and I kind of jokingly, I took pictures of, my little hurricane survival thing. But then when it got real, when you see this huge thing coming to possibly Walt Disney World and area, I bought more. And all of that. So, but the candy was up there. I took a big old picture. Please insert picture of my hurricane preparedness. But the candy was good, so it did help me. So anyway,
well, imagine this: a bunch of Disney fans talking Halloween at Disney, and I completely lost whether or not we've done 4 rounds. I think we've only done 3, but I want to be cognizant of time.
3.
So
3.
I wanted to say,
one more. Yeah. We did 3.
I would say let's maybe kind of pseudo lightning round this last this last round. We'll start with Matthew, and if you have more than one and you just want to kind of shout it out and cheat, that's totally fine. It's fine.
Read my mind.
It's Halloween. We're into tricks or treats.
You read my mind. Brett took one of mine. I was gonna say trick or treating last, but that's okay because I have more. I'll throw in a sort of, I guess, an honorable mention, and that is if you want to see the scariest thing Disney has ever done. Nobody can do this in the parks anymore, but just look up on YouTube or, either the audio or the video. Video is dark in a lot of portions, but the extraterrestrial alien encounter. Not
so
suitable
good.
for really young kids, I will say. Definitely a PG-13 attraction, but it's just because of, I guess, violence and blood,
and terrifyingness.
Terrifying, scary, yes.
And
scariness.
I would like
the thing that comes down over your shoulders and gets you into place, and the breathing on your.
Yep.
So that was your honorable mention.
Good.
That was my honorable mention, and I will give a shameless plug. That's going to be a surprise, no longer surprise. By the time this airs, it won't be a surprise. Halloween episode of Imagine Your Podcast this year.
Nice.
Something for Halloween every year. This is actually, I always release them on Saturdays. Halloween is a Saturday this year, so I had to make it big. So Alien Encounter is the topic.
Perfect.
Oh wow! I love. I got chills. That's so cool.
My real answer though is the Haunted Mansion, and that could be either, and it doesn't have to be Haunted Mansion Holiday, but just the Haunted Mansion. I think that's another example. I started with Tower of Terror. That's another example of you can do this any time of year and get into the Halloween spirit, but especially on Halloween. And I don't think you have to be there to get into the spirit. You can absolutely listen to Grinning Ghosts, or if you have the Haunted Mansion full ride soundtrack, I think they even have it on Spotify, cue that up. I normally don't like reciting the pre-show when I'm actually there, but at home, I think it is a lot better to do it at home when no one's around you. So you can, recite the lines, get into the spirit. So Haunted Mansion on video or on the soundtrack or in person is, I think, the ultimate Halloween spirit at Disney.
Oh, it's so perfect. It's such a perfect attraction. And we took my son when he was about 3 years old, and we were kind of worried then if he would enjoy it. We had a trip planned in April, and he's been watching like the POV since we got back, and he's like, I want to go. Why didn't I go? So that's one of those attractions that we're just going to run to once we get to go back into the park. And I just can't wait. It's just such an incredible attraction.
Classic.
It's so classic. And I think you said it was episode 54. Your
Yes.
episode on the Haunted Mansion is a must listen this Halloween
Thank
season,
you.
for sure.
Thank you.
It is really, really well done. And so Brett and Vanessa, because I cheated last round, I don't want to steal some of yours. I have a bunch here left that I can come up with. So Vanessa, you want to go next?
Okay, I'm going to throw out a couple quick ones. Costumes on the kids, on the adults, anyone who comes in dressed up. That is just the coolest thing. What better place is there? Yeah, to go in costumes than at Magic Kingdom. It's so fun. And seeing the costumes on the characters, specifically Eeyore in that sad clown outfit, I die every time I say it. He's so funny and so sad also. And then one other quick one I don't think you might have is I believe it's right at the 7 o'clock. Matthew, you probably know. Right at the 7 o'clock hour when the music changes for the Halloween party, and it's very ominous, and you almost have to be prepared that you're outside by a speaker, because it's so easy to be in a ride and miss it, but it's so worth it to hear the clock. It's like a chime, and then there's this very dark, ominous voice, and it's really cool. So try to catch that if you get to go to a Halloween party. I think it's right at 7.
I don't know the time, but that sounds about right.
It is.
Sounds right. Okay.
I go to Main Street specifically for that, and then the snow went at the Christmas one, but we're not.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
That's another one.
I had Halloween costumes down, Vanessa, but me even thinking outside of the park, just seeing kids trick-or-treating in the Halloween costumes, it's so great to see the latest Disney characters, and then the old standbys. You've got Woody and Buzz everywhere every single year. It's always just fun.
And wasn't it last year they had the new Forky costume? I'm like, this is a little terrifying.
Terrifying Forky costume, yes.
Yeah, a little scary.
Brett, what was your final?
Okay, well, Halloween is not my favorite holiday, but it's a long month because there's 31 whole days. So thank goodness for Freeform, what used to be Disney, whatever it used to be. But there's 31 nights of Halloween on Freeform, and normally I like the Food Channel, but then they have the really, really scary sort of stuff there, and I watch some of it, but some of it is just too much for me. So I watch my Halloween Town, all four for movies, and then Twitches, both of those, and all of those, and now we can watch them on Disney Plus, which I'm going to do this month when I'm not on 31 nights of Halloween on Freeform. And of course, it's all a bunch of it's just a bunch of, I have to say that wrong. It's just a bunch of hocus pocus, so we get to watch that. 13 or 14, I think it's 13 because I miscounted the other day. 13, which is a very clever number. Anyway, so I watch the movies because then I can get Disney and I can get through the month, and then November 1st comes and I'm happy.
You picked 12 movies there, first of all, and I had a bunch of those on my list. But also, I think maybe I heard you wrong. Did you say the Food Network scares you?
And Halloween, yes, it does. Okay. It's too much. That stuff is. I like to watch them.
Are you talking about the pumpkin carving contest and stuff like that? The
pumpkin is, but they do this. It send me over the edge. That's why on November 1st, I'm going, bring in the holiday turkey and cook me something that has holly on it.
All right. I just wanted to clarify that the Food Network scares you. Okay.
It does during this month. That's why Thank you, Disney, for all of my Disney Halloween fun.
Well, actually, Brett, because you ran through so many of those, my list is almost exhausted, except for The Adventure of Ichabod Crane, which is also available on Disney Plus. It also has Mr. Toad's on it, but that's again that classic Disney. You can also find The Skeleton Dance. That's another one. There was this special that Disney ran when I was a kid. So this was probably back in the early 90s, where they kind of took clips of all of their Halloween properties and put them into like an hour-long special for the Disney Channel. And I wish that they would put that on Disney Plus, because that to me is exactly Halloween. It's I found it on YouTube last year. So if we find it again, we'll link it in the comment when we post this video. But it's just great. It's cool because it's all the different properties that you want to see. And they even have like a ride through of Haunted Mansion at the time. And it's just so great. But thank you all so much. This was so much fun to get to talk to you and to just get in the Halloween spirit, because again, there's no better time to be a Disney fan than right now. And so before we leave, Matthew, just want to say thank you again. And thank you for so much content, because as I'm doing these laps around the neighborhood, I'm listening to your show and to your experiences and your guests that you bring on. I cannot tell you, all of our audience, enough to go listen to Imagineer podcast. You will not regret it. It's such a great show, great production value, and you should be really proud of that, Matthew. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Well, now that you've hyped it up so much, they're going to go and listen and be like, it's okay. It's
No.
I doubt
They'll be glad that they popped by.
I doubt it. Can you go ahead and plug where they can find it?
Yeah, Imagine Your Podcasts everywhere on all podcast apps. The easiest way to get to all of it is imagineyourpodcast.com. I have all the social media links there, but Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, even LinkedIn. I'm literally all over the place. But biggest places I'd say are, besides the podcast, Instagram and Facebook. Those are the two and Twitter. Those are the places that I am definitely the most active. So. But yeah, imagineyourpodcast.com is probably the easiest way to find all those links to everything.
That's wonderful. And of course, thank you so much for listening to us. And if you're new to the podcast, or maybe if you listen to Matthew's podcast, thanks for checking us out, and definitely hit that subscribe button for us. And you can always find us on our social media, Beyond the Mouse Podcast, also Beyond the Mouse Pod on Instagram. We are part of the Front Row Network. You can find us on nprillinois.org, as well as you can search the Front Row Network on any social media that you want to find. This is all part of Monster Cast for the Front Row Network. We just looked at the schedule. I believe we are posting in the next month 29 episodes as a network. So you can find those at all of our different places, from the classics to flashbacks to some of these full disclosures and even some interviews. We're doing our Hulu-ween again, where we go and watch all the Hulu Halloween episodes and movies, and we're going to be able to review those for you too. So just go ahead and search for the Front Row Network, especially during this month of Monster Cast and this month of Halloween, unless you are too scared to do that, Brett. And I understand if that is the case. But any final thoughts, Vanessa?
I'm just saying, I'm too scared as well. So I'll be sticking with the lighter, spooky stuff, and that Haunted Mansion episode. I can't wait to listen to that, Matthew.
Yes.
Hope you enjoy it. It's a good one. I only know that because people tell me it is.
Absolutely. Brett, any final thoughts from you?
I'm ready to watch all of these wonderful shows, experience the memories that we've had in the parks and other places, and looking forward to November 1st. Just kidding.
Well, we're excited for our next week's episode, which will be our villains draft. So excited for that. And we can come up with some different teams, and hopefully Vanessa doesn't win this time. But we'll talk about that next week. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, on October 30th, because we post on a Friday, Matthew, this is perfect time, and they can listen to us on Friday and listen to you on Saturday.
There you go.
But
yes.
We will have our interview with DJ McHale, the writer-director of the Tower of Terror film, and also of Are You Afraid of the Dark as well. We are so excited for that. Matthew, any final thoughts to lead us out?
Thank you for having me on the show. Definitely, if you're watching this from Imagine Your Podcast, check these guys out too, because they know what they're talking about, and they're awesome. So thank you all for having me on the show.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. For Beyond the Mouse, I am Craig.
I'm Vanessa.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Matthew.
And we will see you real soon in the front row. maybe watching some Halloween, and maybe
it's that time of year.
listening to some music, watch those point of view videos.
Just not the Food Network. Network's way too terrifying. Let's get some pumpkins and carve really scary things and leave them outside of Brett's
Oh my
house. How fun will that be?
See, I do these things and then
the Food Network. Are you kidding me?
That is
No,
pretty
I-
The
funny.
spooky
Scary.
whoopie pies.
Look at the spooky whoopie pie.